In this quick little video, we're going to talk about solving one-step equations using our properties of equality. And this should all be reviewed, so we're going to go through it pretty quickly. Remember, anytime you're solving an equation of any kind, your goal is to isolate the variable. That means get the variable by itself with a coefficient of 1 on one side of the equal sign, and then everything else on the other side. Normally, that means we get something like x equals 7. We do this by asking ourselves, what is happening to the variable and what is the inverse of that? So we need to remember, as we're looking at our operations, addition and subtraction are inverses. So to undo addition, you would subtract. To undo subtraction, you would add. Multiplication and division are opposites. So to undo multiplication, you would divide. To undo division, you would multiply. These are our properties of equality. So there's actually 4 of them: the addition property, the subtraction property, the multiplication property, and the division property. Notice they all start the same. If A equals B, then, and in this case what we've done is add C to both sides. That's the addition property. Here we have subtracted C from both sides. That's the subtraction property. Multiplied by C, that's the multiplication property, and divided by C. That's the division property. You can sum it up in one sentence. You can add, subtract, multiply, or divide both sides of an equation and keep the equation balanced. That's the key. When I give you an equation to solve, it is balanced. Your goal is to get the x by itself and keep the equation balanced. So we're going to do 4 quick examples, starting with example 1. So we have 3 plus p equals 8. I'm adding there. The inverse of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I want to see that step. I want to see you subtracting 3 from both sides. Here's why this works. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 plus p is p. I've got the p by itself with a coefficient of 1 equals 5. Now some people find it helpful to draw a line at the equal sign so that you make sure that as you cross over that line, you're using your inverse, and what you're doing on one side, you are also doing on the other. So let's do that for example 2. Let's draw a line at our equal sign. And we need to be careful on example 2. We need to be very careful. It's negative 15 plus n. So I know this looks like addition because we've got that addition sign right there. But if I were to subtract 15, that's not 0. I actually want to add 15. So when you're working with your integers, you've got to be careful. I'm adding 15 because negative 15 plus 15 is 0. And on this side, I also need to add 15. So what you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. To decide what to do, you look for your variable and you do the inverse to get that variable by itself. So here I get n equals negative 9 plus 15. I'm adding and my signs are different, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger, so positive 6. Let's move on to example 3. So in example 3, again, my goal is to get the x by itself with a coefficient of 1. So as I look at this, here's my x. It's being multiplied by 8. When they're right next to each other like that, that means multiplication. Multiplication is the only one that doesn't require some kind of symbol. Okay? The inverse of multiplication is division. I'm not going to use a division sign. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do a fraction bar. I'm going to divide both sides by 8. On this side, draw my line here. On this side, 8 divided by 8 is 1. So I get 1x, or you can just say x, which is what we usually do. And on this side, negative divided by a positive is negative. 104 divided by 8 is going to be 13. And taking a look at number 4. So see the fraction bar? Don't let the fraction bar scare you. A fraction is just a division problem. That's it. That's all. So this is 6 equals b divided by 8. The opposite of division is multiplication, or the inverse of division is multiplication. So I am going to multiply both sides. Watch how I do this. I'm going to put parentheses by 8. On this side, I'm going to put it over 1 so that I can see they cancel. 8 divided by 8 is 1. That leaves me with just b on this side, or 1b. And then 8 times 6 is 48. Now, I should check my answers. I should plug them in and make sure that it gives me a true statement. I'm not doing that for the sake of keeping the video short, but we will look at that in class the next time we see each other.